whether you meet some random people or join with friends. Going from being a lone wolf in DayZ to joining up with a group can feel like jumping from a quiet pond into a chaotic river, because in a group everything changes, both for better and for worse. And here I'm going to give you the most important things you absolutely need to know. If you liked the video, please leave a like or a subscribe, it really helps me out. But without further ado, let's get into the video. It's fine, I can survive this. I've survived worse. Oh. Okay. First off, there is strength in numbers, no doubt about that. But there's also a lot of risk. A group has a better chance of fending off infected, bandits or unfriendly survivors that come your way. But the downsides? Firstly, groups are noisy. Stealth is harder to maintain and you'll attract more attention than you did as a solo player, which is why communication is absolutely key. You need to establish clear signals to keep everybody on the same page. For example, make sure you've got solid names for landmarks or buildings. Red house, double green, or church should mean the same thing to everybody. This might sound like overkill, but this mistake has caused more arguments than leaving the toilet seat up. Then there's the problem of resources. If you're in a group, you're not just looting for yourself anymore. This means you're burning through food, water, and ammunition way faster than when you were a solo. So it's important you hit the right stops and always look out for fruit and mushrooms. And when you do loot, don't go too far. Always stay within a few houses of each other to avoid someone getting pinned without any way for you to respond. Next, if getting attacked by infected, if the infected isn't coming to you specifically, let them deal with it unless they ask for help, and vice versa. This prevents any accidental shots or cuts. And remember, stay out of the line of fire. Be aware of who is around you and what they're firing at. People are idiots, and if this does happen, don't seek revenge. Part of being in a team is letting things go. This is also good relationship advice. The letting go part, not the shooting them part. Although, also if traveling in a large group, make sure to space out. Don't get too close. It's much easier to take out a group altogether with some guns or grenades, even at a reasonable distance. Don't make it easier. Have room to breathe and scatter. It's also important to do callouts. Actually, this is probably the most important thing you kind of need to do. Let's say you found a brand new jacket or swapped out your backpack for a different one. Announce it every time. Confusion over appearances can lead to costly mistakes and accidental bullets. In the chaos, you might waste precious seconds trying to figure out if the player you've encountered is a friend or a foe, or you might be the person who accidentally downs a teammate just because they didn't mention they had a wardrobe change. Even if you're in armbands, call out your clothing. And speaking of guns, these callouts also apply to shots taken. Whether you've spotted an enemy or you're just taking a few pot shots at infected, give your group the heads up. Even if you're caught off guard and don't have time to warn them beforehand, let them know immediately after pulling the trigger who, why, and where. That way your squad won't mistake you for an enemy or be caught off guard by the gunfire. Moving on, if your teammate is knocked down, you can do chest compressions to wake them up more quickly. You can also heal them while they're unconscious if they're bleeding. Very, very good information to know. Next, and this is something that might not come naturally to basically any player, over or underachieving in a group. The thing about group dynamics is there always has to be one leading and one following. This is simply just put in place to avoid butting heads, and you need to establish which is which first. But something you absolutely shouldn't do is something called social loafing. Social loafing is a social psychological phenomenon that describes when people put less effort into a task when working in a group than they would if they were working alone. It's easy to get lazy when someone else is there, but don't. It's important you stay just as alert as they are. Even though you're in a group, you still need that solo mentality, that solo instinct to survive. Scan as if you were alone, loot as if you were alone, be as aware as if you were alone. When cooking or building a fire, it's important you do two things. Firstly, build it together, each getting different parts of it so you can make one in seconds, and then let one person cook while the other person waits in the corner watching the door doors or windows. There is no reason to both be huddled by the fire. Take turns or designate a cook. Next, don't be afraid to ask for ammo. If you're short on something or found a gun you like, make sure you make it clear. In fact, do this for all supplies. Another thing to consider is how group dynamics can slow you down. The wrong person can drag your entire group into danger. Maybe they're too aggressive, always wanting to chase down enemies, or maybe they're too cautious and cause your group to miss key opportunities. Either way, these players can become a burden if they don't adapt to the group's needs. Whether in a duo or a group or more, if you find someone is slacking, give them a specific task. Find an item, clear a barn, scout a tree line. Make sure if they don't take the actions you need them to take, that you direct them to take them yourself. Next, you need to use the advantage of numbers to your benefit. This means splitting roles when looting or moving through towns. Have a designated scout to keep an eye out ahead and call out potential threats. Maybe someone's on infected control while the rest of the group loot in peace. Others can focus on finding specific resources such as food or medical supplies. Just remember that spreading out too much will make your group more vulnerable, so stay smart about your positioning. And remember what I said earlier about sticking close together. But sometimes you need to break off from the group, and it's important to know what to do then. So to learn exactly how to master being a solo, click here. Or for something else, click here. And as always, until next time.